Good evening. This is a public meeting, the Lowell Zoning Board of Appeals for February 10th, 2014. A couple of housekeeping matters. If everybody could check your electronic devices, make sure at least they're silenced. And second of all, if you plan on speaking on behalf of a petition, would you please sign in at the podium with your name and address before addressing the board? Okay, our first matter before us is under continuances. This is ZB 2013-42. The petition's a special permit. The applicant is 22 Old Canal LLC, property located at 22 Old Canal Drive, and the petition to allow a medical professional office use with some counseling services on site. The property is currently vacant and lies in the light industrial zoning district pursuant to Article 12, Table of Uses of the zoning ordinance. Good evening, Councilor. How are you?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
So the last time, just to open this up, last time we met, we had a continuance based on the posting requirement for the
Correct.
special permit. I understand through DPD that has been met. Yes. So if you'd like to continue, please.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I represent 22 Old Canal LLC, and they're looking to get a special permit to allow medical use in a light industrial area. The proposed tenant is South Bay Mental Health. I have with us tonight Elise and Duncan from South Bay that can answer questions if need be. Representatives from South Bay, Gene Sullivan, the engineer for the project, and Stephen Goodman representing the 22 Old Canal LLC. South Bay is currently in the city in two locations, on East Merrimack Street and Warren Street, has outgrown both and is looking to expand. And our position is it fits nicely with the city's plan for economic development, which includes retention of jobs as well as creation of new jobs. And as they expand, it should bring some new jobs to the area, but also retain these jobs, as they don't have enough space where they are currently located, so they will need to consolidate and expand, and would like to keep them in the city of Lowell. Some of the criteria, as I know that the board will be looking at, would be the social impact, and they're currently in the community, serving the community. It's a huge bonus, or a much-needed service. I shouldn't say it's a bonus, a much-needed service for the city, and it will be a huge positive impact to keep them located locally, and to expand and to better help and serve the community that needs it. The traffic flow and parking, the plan that was brought this evening, I don't know if you've had an opportunity to look at it thoroughly, but there were some suggestions from the developmental services to adjust the parking spaces. That's been conformed with, and there is a shared parking plan basically that provides for 86 spaces with the 84 spaces necessary. There is no impact on utilities. Currently, the neighborhood characteristics are industrial and professional business area. It would be basically renovating space that right now is vacant and would fit nicely with the characteristics. No impact on the natural environment. The fiscal impact would be retention of some jobs, of about 70 jobs, in addition of some jobs to that. You'd have improvements of about $750,000 invested into the building, which would increase taxes and the revenue to the city, as well as boost to the local economy in terms of retaining these employees to eat at the local restaurants and basically keep the revenue in the community to help support the local businesses. In all, Old Canal looks at this as basically a win-win with the city for much needed services, which affords them the opportunity to expand and grow. I have Gene Sullivan, our engineer, in case you have any specific questions regarding the parking, the plan before you, or any additional questions in terms of landscaping or other things to do with the lot, is I would probably not be able to answer them adequately.
I guess I'll just ask a couple of basics. What's the total number of employees that will be located there?
Well, that's a good question. South Bay, I believe, has approximately 60, 70 employees. And the nature of their business is that it's an out-service program where this is going to be used mainly for record keeping, billing, and office use. As I understand it, it's kind of like a visiting nurses association type of situation where most of the clinical work is done outside of the office. So full-time I could ask, but it's more of a situation of, my understanding is they come in, take their files, go out, service their clients, come back and do their drop-off and the billing and such and the notes get done there. So I don't know if you're asking just in total or how many there in a given time.
Well, it sounds like you're going to have a base number of people that'll be administration or office workers that'll be there 8 to 5, I'll say. And then it sounds like you have a group of employees that'll be providing the service part, so they may be in there. I'm not sure what their transportation back and forth, how many times a day they're doing that, how many people are doing that, so just so the board has an idea of, what can we expect for traffic flow there.
Sure. Good. Yeah, come on up. This is Elise from South Bay.
Hi, I'm the clinic director at the Lowell site. So we actually have about 20 employees.
Can you just introduce yourself, please?
Sorry, I'm Elise Peredna. I'm the clinic director at South Bay Mental Health here in Lowell.
Thank you.
We do have about 20 administrative staff that are on site for more of those 9 to 5 hours. The additional 60 employees that we do have right now are on an outreach basis. So typically, I would say in the office on any given day, we have the 20 administrative staff and maybe 10 to 15 other staff. We do have staff meeting once a week between all employees. However, it's 4 different team meetings through the week. So at most, we ever have about 30, 35 employees on site.
So 30 to 35 is, we'll say 8 to 5. I'm probably going to ask about business hours also, but while you're up there, maybe I'll ask about that. What's the business hours?
Sure, so our business hours are technically 9 to 5. What that means is at that time, we do have administrative staff there. Yep. However, all of our clinicians, because we do community-based work, make their own schedules. So at times, they're out in the school system at 7:30 in the morning. They could be out in the community 7 o'clock at night. However, office would be more of the 9 to 5.
Okay. Is there any weekend hours that anybody will be there?
Not typically. Once in a while there might be for filing, things like that. However, that's pretty rare.
Okay. Okay. So basically the people that are, the 60 or so that are doing the servicing, do they traditionally come in the morning, get their work plan for the day, and then come back at the end of the day?
Some do. Some prefer to kind of have that home base to set themselves up for the day, but a lot of them, we service Lowell and the surrounding communities, so at times they might be in Billerica all day and they won't come into the office at all, but they'll come in on Tuesday when that happens to be a few office clients or their supervision or their team meeting, and then go outreach to Lowell.
Okay. Okay, that's all I have at this point. Thank you. Okay. There was a comment in the write-up, Counselor, on a dumpster that would be on site. Do you have any information on that? And what the purpose of the dumpster would be?
Why don't I have Gene come up and address that, because I think it was a question on the screening as well.
Yep.
Location.
Good evening. My name is Gene Sullivan. I'm an engineer. My office is in Wilmington, Massachusetts. The structure that is being referred to as a dumpster or identified as dumpster on the plan is actually an outdoor air conditioning unit. It's a large unit out back on its own pad. We will have a dumpster someday, I assume on site for their business operations and filing debris, which will be located in the rear and screened with fencing and so forth as required.
So the plan is not to have a dumpster once you're up and running?
We will have one in the future.
Yep. Okay, so what we would require is if you're going to have, is it one dumpster?
Yes.
And is the one dumpster going to service both businesses at that location?
Yes, it will.
Okay. So I guess what we'll need, Joe, I don't know if it's reflected, is it reflected on the plan where
It
the
isn't at this
dumpster
time.
would be and the screening that would be provided?
It isn't reflected at this time? No, it is not.
It's not, okay. So we'll just put that in as a condition, just have to have the plans revised when we get to that point.
It would be located in the rear where you see that air conditioning unit, probably right next to it. It's heavily wooded, certainly not visible from any direction, but we'd
Would that
screen
be
it as...
a service pickup once a
Correct.
week, probably?
Exactly.
Okay. Okay, that's all I have for that. Thank you, sir.
Certainly.
Okay. Anything else you want to add at this point, Ms. Broderick?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. I'll just, Mr. Eby, did you have a chance to look at the new plans? Could you just outline what your observations were, please?
The new plan that I saw today, it looks like they've addressed all the parking dimensions and aisle widths that I had concerns about, so it looks like they're providing the required number of parking spaces and all accessible handicap signing and striping. It all looks good to me. I don't have any concerns looking at this plan.
Okay, so they were able to meet the parking requirements based on the requirements that we have for width and length of parking spaces?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good, thank you. Anything else you want to add at this point? If
No,
not,
thank you, Mr.
I'll open it up to the public.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone here that'd like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor, in favor? Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? Opposition, opposition. Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. I'd like to open it up to the board. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a quick question for Mr. Eby. Are people allowed to park on Old Canal Drive as it's currently, or Old Canal Road?
I don't know offhand if there's any parking restrictions out there, any ordinances against it. I'd have to look that up, but I don't think they can park out there. I mean, I don't think they do park out there, but I think it's probably allowable at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, just to butt in like I like to. When we had the prior petition, I had asked that, I believe, I think maybe Aaron Clausen, and I was told there was no prohibition of parking on the street. Now, I don't, how it's enforced is another thing, but that
Okay.
helps. Yeah.
Thank you. I just had that was my only question, so.
Yes, Van?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the applicant. I think it's always a good thing when businesses can consolidate and stay in Lowell. I'm pretty familiar with South Bay, and they do amazing work. So I just want to say thank you to the petitioner for your work and all the detailed plans that you brought before the board. And I wish you well and thank you.
Thank you.
Dennis?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to echo what Van's comments were just then. I really like the idea of repurposing this building, and I think this is a great location for this business to go in. I do have a couple questions I'd just like to get clarified on the operation, if I could. I'm sorry, your name is Elisa? Is that it? Elise, sorry. Just trying to get the math correct.
Sure.
So there's a count here that we had of 58 parking spaces being required between 8 and 5.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the idea, is that you'd have some employees and some clients in that number, or how does that number get arrived at?
Potentially, a lot of our clients actually do use either public transportation or transportation set up through insurance companies to come to the office. Most of our clinicians actually only see a small handful of clients at the office. Because we are a community-based agency, we are doing services in the home, in the school setting, in the shelter settings here in Lowell.
You said public transportation. So you understand that there's a intent of having a bus stop here someday soon, I think. So
I
is that,
am not aware of that. No, currently where we are right now in Lowell, we're on Merrimack Street, so
Okay.
we're right across. So we do have clients that do use public transportation now and don't own their own vehicles. However, at the new location, those clients, if they can't get to us, will be either using transportation provided through like insurance companies, things like that, or we would be actually servicing them in their home environment.
Okay, great, great. The employees are coming from the area, is there going to be traffic being, going through Chelmsford, I imagine, as part of the access to the site? Is that possible?
Potentially, however, like I said, most of our clinicians, they all make their own schedules, so it's very rare that all of them are in the office at any one time. So traffic, I mean, we have some, not everybody starts their day at 9 o'clock in the Lowell office. They might be starting at 9 o'clock in a school system, they might be starting in Billerica or Dracut. So traffic, I would say in the morning at 9 o'clock is maybe about 30 of us in the office.
Okay. And you come in at staggered hours, I guess there's 20 administrators, but the remainder would come in kind of, you said some get in at 7 and some.
Yeah,
sort
it's kind of
staggered.
whatever their schedule is kind of looking like for the day.
Sure, okay. I'm great, thank you, that answers my questions. I have a question for the engineer, Mr. Sullivan. You, Gene Sullivan? I noticed on the plan that you have handicap spaces now located near, I think where an overhead door is, or a dumpster, or a dock door is? Is that
Right now, that area of the building where we've striped a lot more parking, and where 2 of those spaces are, is currently a loading dock, but we intend to fill that area in so it's an at-grade access. It's going to serve as their front door.
Great, okay, so you expect to have an accessible route to the
Absolutely.
entrance at
Yep.
that location? Okay, and so that would be your lobby then, coming in directly on that side? That makes a lot of sense.
Correct.
Okay, that's great looking plan. Everything looks pretty easy, so, nice job. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I want to take the opportunity to thank for the updated plans and working with DPD and meet requirements of the parking. It's always a concern with staff on site. Fluctuating staff seems to be your primary source of outsourcing your administrative and in-house staff, and the clientele seems to be limited on site as well. So I don't believe, and we were made aware, there won't be any traffic impact. So knowing the area, I've been to the site, and I can say I've seen people parked on Old Canal Drive itself. So there's no parking prohibited up there, so that's additional space. So I think that's all what we're looking for. I appreciate the petitioner coming back with a detailed plan and being prepared tonight, and moving forward with both departments and being patient and working with us. It's always nice to have an added business in the community and a design space moving forward and welcoming you to your biggest space as you grow. So I wish you the best of luck.
Okay, Mr. Broderick, a couple other things. What's the, we haven't talked about, you had mentioned about patients potentially coming in for, I'll call it a site visit. What's the, how many patients are we looking at if they're deemed as patients or clinical work? If somebody could explain that, please.
Elise, come on, you're doing a good job. We'll better have it come from the horse's mouth than me. Yeah.
So for our program, I would say that the majority of clients that are coming in a day are maybe trying to think. Maybe 4 to 5 an hour based on appointment times. However, they're really only in there for about an hour or so, and then they're leaving to be able to go on and do their daily activities.
My name is Duncan Spiel. I reside in Watertown, Mass., and I'm currently the program director at the South Bay Mental Health Day Services Program located at 148 Warren Street in Lowell. As far as my program is concerned, we service about 26 clients per day at our current location.
Okay, so do you plan on the same 26 clients coming in to the new location?
Give or take, we always have individuals that don't show up. We are hoping to grow. Exactly those numbers, I'm not sure, at this time.
Yep.
Um,
But is the 26 on top of the 4 to 5 per hour that you're referencing?
Yes, the thing with Duncan's program, though, is that most of them will be dropped off by insurance-based transportation, so they wouldn't take up parking spaces or anything like that, and they would be there from 8:30?
9 a.m. to 3 p.m., and 90% of our individuals have transportation through their health insurance. We might have 1 or 2 clients, if that drive on a regular basis.
Okay. And the other clients that you referred to, you said 4 to 5 per hour. So is that for the 8 hours that you're open? Are they coming every hour or on the hour?
Most of our appointments do take place either on the hour or on the half an hour, especially if they're like doctor visits or versus therapy appointments. However, they're kind of in and out for those appointments. Our space really isn't equipped to see clients there multiple hours a day all of the time. We are a community-based agency, and we really pride ourselves in that, so we do see a majority of them out in the community in their natural setting.
And the majority of those clients, how are they getting there?
By transportation through their insurance company.
Okay, that's all I have for that, thank you. What about signage? Is there any signage proposed? We haven't received anything, but is there anything that's being proposed?
We haven't proposed it as yet. We're still working on design development, but we expect to be in conformance with all zoning requirements.
Okay, so Joe, if they so choose to have some type of signage in the future, are they going to come before us, or do we just condition it now and DPD will handle that?
It depends on the design of the sign, whether or not it would have to come back in front of the board for the signage.
Okay, so I'll just put a condition in at the time that if maybe, you may have to come before us for the signage, depending on what you decide to choose.
Thank you.
Hey, any other board members have any questions at this point? Okay, if you just give me a couple of minutes, I want to talk about the conditions here. Eric, was there a new curb cut also included on the plans?
The new curb cut that's shown on the plan here,
Yeah, does that fall in line with the comment that we had from DPD, the curb cut? I believe it said, unless I'm reading it incorrectly, it referred to talking about all new restriping, restriped and/or newly constructed spaces, and okay. Of course, I know I just read it, now I can't find it. So, Joe, do you recall if there was a new curb cut?
I think the original submission didn't include the second curb cut. I
That's
think
what
that
it
was the issue. So this,
Okay, so that's incorporated here? Okay.
Yes.
So we have that captured in the site
Yes.
plan? Okay, thank you. Okay, well, I guess based on the comments from the board and the requirements that the client is here, or I should say the petitioner is here for this evening, I believe the petitioner has shown that you meet the special permit criteria. I know, Counselor, you kind of hit on, there's obviously a community need here that has been exhibited with a company that's been in Lowell for the past few years. Traffic flow and safety, I know we got the new plan tonight, so as far as the site handling, the number of clientele for both your business and the other business will be at the same address. You met that requirement, so we should have hopefully no issues with parking there. Utilities don't come into play. Neighborhood character, I believe the business will fit in with the neighborhood character with the other businesses that are currently there. I think you also mentioned that, there's potential of the businesses in the neighborhood may be visited from the employees, so that's obviously a benefit. Impact on the natural environment and potential impact, obviously, I think the tax base, as you had mentioned, investment of $750,000 in there, I think would be very helpful to the city. And so with that said, I'm in full support. And if there's no other comments, I'd like to have a motion, please.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the matter before us is EB 2013-42 for a special permit at 22 Old Canal Drive. I make a motion to approve with the following conditions. 1, the board accepts the new plan submitted February 10th, 2014 as completed. 2, submit a revised site plan for future dumpster locations to include the screen plan in accordance with zoning. And 3, if any signage is to be set up, it must be approved in accordance with zoning and a plan submitted to the board.
You got that, Joe? Yep. Could I have a second, please?
Second motion?
A roll call.
Mr. Bailey?
Approved with conditions.
Mr. Palio?
Approve with conditions?
Mr. McCarthy?
Approved with conditions.
Mr. Peck?
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Perrin?
Approve with conditions.
Okay, Mr. Broderick, you've been approved with conditions. Wish you the best of luck out there.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, next matter before us is ZB 2013-45. The petition's a special permit for use. The applicant is James T. Lakulis. The property is located at 300 Jackson Street. The petition is to operate massage therapy establishments on the 4th and 5th floor of the building pursuant to Article 12, Table of Uses of the zoning ordinance. Is there a representative here? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Jim Lachulis, and I'm here for mill number 5.
Okay. So if you, I know this is a continuance. I know there was another representative here before, so if you could,
Sarah's here as well.
yep, so if you could, update us on,
Sure, I have a few
last
things
meeting.
to say. Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. And thank you to everyone who has come out in support of mill number 5. Could I ask you to stand up just so we can acknowledge your presence? Thank you very much for coming. I really appreciate it. Thank you. We're here today to address several outrageous claims raised by our neighbor, Randy Matthews. Mr. Matthews recently accused our tenant of having a massage studio that was actually a front for prostitution. Mr. Matthews even referred to the licensed massage therapists as Trixie and Bambi and invoked happy endings to oppose the permit. These are his words. This is simply offensive to a licensed professional. But it gets better. Mr. Matthews then insinuated that we were involved in human trafficking. I couldn't make this stuff up. I'm not going to dignify that with a response, except to say that Mr. Matthews has a very, very active imagination. So let's deal with facts, not fantasy. Mill number 5 is a strong health and wellness focus. We will have a yoga studio and a farm-to-table cafe that will source produce from local farms and Lowell's own Mill City grows. The massage studio will be a welcome addition to these offerings, and we have over 30 letters of support from our neighbors for the permit. We respectfully request that the zoning board see past the outrageous claims made by Mr. Matthews, claims which have no basis in fact whatsoever, and approve Mr. Suhu's permit for a massage studio at Mill number 5. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay. Anything else you want to add at this point?
No, sir.
Okay. So I'm going to open it up to the public at this point. Anyone here that'd like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
My name is Karen Bell, and I am an owner of 80 Middlesex Street, Lowell, Mass., and have been a business owner on Middlesex Street for over 30 years. I am standing here tonight for several reasons. The first is that starting about over 20 years ago, I tried to bring massage into my fitness club and went through very similar scenarios. At that point, it was the Lowell Board of Health that had the jurisdiction over massage therapy centers. And needless to say, it took me about 5 or 6 years. In the interim, having been between this rock and a hard place as far as being an owner of the property who was trying to lease part of the facility and bring that part of the facility up to specifications to allow for massage therapy, I underwent problems. I had several massage therapists who came through to lease the property, and it was so cumbersome that by the time they went through the queries, all of the things that were necessary, by then they would have been out of business because that was 6 months, 8 months, and so on. Myself as a property owner, I'm sitting looking at constantly redoing aspects of the building in order to meet, again, the certain criteria is necessary, and then only to have somebody drop out of the process and have to restart the process again. So I know what Mr. Luchulis is going through as a property owner and business owner as far as facing this. But let me address, more importantly, the issue of the quality of life in the neighborhood, which is, I'm sure, what Randy is really interested in. Back a little more than 10 years ago, I founded, along with others, including Mr. Luchulis, the Jackson Appleton Middlesex Business and Residents Association, and I really want to say that strongly, and Residents Association. We had a mission. And that mission, if any of you historically understand what Middlesex, Appleton, and Jackson Streets were like, they were a hotbed of prostitution, of drug trafficking, of anything except good, strong businesses and of good character. So about 10 years ago, we developed this Jackson Appleton Middlesex Business and Residents Association so that it would not just be businesses that were trying to spearhead something happening, because we knew that in order for our part of Lowell to be a very vibrant community, we must have residential and residents and people to be able to come into our businesses, to be able to bring the different restaurants and other things into the area that would then really have a very symbiotic relationship. So we meet once a month on the second Wednesday of every month, and we welcome residents in to participate along with the business people. We're very active, and we have been active, and I honestly believe that we have been really and truly responsible for a lot of the development along that corridor, that jam plan corridor. And why I say that we have been responsible, yes, the city councilors are there and so on, but we support them. So it is that type of relationship that we have with the city, which helps us develop our neighborhood in the way that improves it for all of us, residents and businesses. So Randy came to me last Friday and spoke to me about this very issue. And I told Randy a little bit about my own problems in having massage in my facility, which I now have had for about 15 years without any problems, and it's legitimate and so on. And I said to him, I don't paint people with the brush. Really, can be insulting. And so getting beyond that, I also suggested to Randy that he participate with the neighborhood in addressing these kinds of problems and his worries and concerns. And he is more than welcome to appear. We have a meeting on Wednesday night. That's just this week on Wednesday night. And I am sure that meeting with neighbors who also know the rest of us would be something which can make you feel a little bit more comfortable. So I have known Mr. Luchulis for more than a decade. I have dealt with him on shelter commissions where we have both been very active in trying to make sure that we are good neighbors within that whole community. We have also developed a good neighbor policy that we hope that everyone within the neighborhood complies. And Jim was part of that. And I would bet my own business that whatever business Mr. Luchulis is in is legitimate. He is a man of strong character and who has worked very hard in the last decade, very hard, whether it's neighborhood cleanups, whether it's getting out there at 7 o'clock in the morning, whether it's neighborhood festivals and pulling in sandbags and equipment, et cetera. He has been there to help improve this neighborhood. Within our board and within our neighborhood group, we have not just the small businesses like myself and Garnick's and Elliott's and George the Barber and so on and so forth. We have Lowell Community Health Center, and the people on Lowell Community Health Center have been dealing with Mr. Luchulis for the number of years that they've been trying to develop their center, et cetera, and have always been very supportive. We're all supportive of Mill Number 5. I think it's an amazing entrepreneurial, creative endeavor. And one of the things in this type of economy is that a creative endeavor to something that like steps slightly beyond very often gets pushback. But if you have a person at the helm who is of good character and can assure you that all aspects of government will be satisfied and all aspects of the neighborhood will be satisfied and will live up to the same good neighbor policy that he helped put in effect, then I think we have a winner here. We have a winner that somebody will take the initiative in this down economy not to leave Lowell, but to put something back into it and maybe something which could be a good model for many other cities. So thank you. And I hope you will speak in favor, and I assure you that there are lots of people in that community who will be looking in and hopefully applauding Mr. Luchulis and welcoming Randy into every single aspect of our neighborhood. And we need more residential participants, so hopefully you'll be there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to speak in favor? In favor? Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Kevin Burgess, 240 Jackson, Unit 622, and I also have another unit, 627. I think this whole thing started as a noise complaint. They had a gathering up there with all kinds of artists selling jewelry and everything, and there was live entertainment that kind of went a little late into the night and was kind of loud, and it came through the elevator shaft into where the residents are in the next mill. And we told Jim about it. he moved the music down. He said it was something they hadn't foreseen, that the music was getting through an empty elevator shaft. So he said he's working on the elevator shaft to seal that up so the noise complaint won't be there in the future. And I think everything just kind of snowballed from that one night when it was really loud, and the residents on that end of the building, another friend of ours, Deb, who lives across the hall, she also heard it and said it was too loud. And we told Jim about it, and he agreed to address it. And I think everything else just snowballed from that. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anyone else like to speak in favor?
Good evening, everyone. I'm not actually knowing if I'm speaking in favor or in opposition, but in general terms here. So good evening,
Can you
Chairman.
tell us who you are first?
So good evening, Chairman Bailey, and members of the ZBA Board of Directors. My name is Rita Mercier, 221 Burnham Road, Lowell, Mass. Let me preface my remarks as speaking here in no other capacity, but only as a resident of the city of Lowell and a concerned citizen as to development of the Hamilton Canal District of the JAM Plan, of which we have a master plan. And the master plan is specific in that it describes what should be accomplished, such as it states, to build a sense of community while simultaneously working to strengthen the gaps for future projects by working with the community stakeholders to identify neighborhood characteristics to be protected, preserved, and enhanced. Now, the people who will speak on this issue, there's a couple here that are concerned, and the people who signed a petition at the last ZBA meeting, their community stakeholders, those that invested their time, their hard-earned money, and their commitment to this great city. They're investors, they're stakeholders, and they want what is good for the city. Now, this evening, the petitioner is seeking a special permit to operate a massage therapy establishment. I know that a special permit is an added level of review, which I hope that you will put these conditions on, and that we must stick to the issue at hand and not talk about anything in the past. And some people have had some things happen in the past. So let me just start in the beginning and say, sometimes you listen to one side of an argument and you take that for gospel, and they have legitimate concerns. Then you meet the other side. I've always figured that you should step back and listen to the whole picture. And this evening, as I would be completely opposed to it, I spoke to a number of people here that gave me another view of what's going on in that building. And I shouldn't say I have emotion because I'm not speaking in any other capacity, but let me just say this. I believe that there could be problems, and having said that, Karen Bell spoke so eloquently when she said, we have to embrace and be transparent to everybody. And the only thing that troubles me here this evening would be the fact that things and businesses and establishments are going into a building that some people that are abutters and stakeholders don't really know the whole functioning purpose of what's going into it. And so that's why I address this board, as well as the people that are probably opposed, to say you have to get involved and know what's going on. Tomorrow, I'm going to have a tour of that building with Mr. Lachulis to know firsthand what I'm talking about, because I hear one side and you can't do that. You got to hear the whole side. And I think that in this city, it isn't about those people versus this people. These people are voting yes, these people are voting no. I think everybody can come together as one and say, we have concerns, we have problems, but we're going to address them and make it good for everybody. I talked to so many people here this evening that have little individual shops that they could not afford anywhere else. So when you think of the bad that could have been happening, there's so much good that is happening. Do you understand what I'm saying? We must get involved and all try to get along and make this a vibrant city. That area was dead for so long, a negative impact on the city, and now it's being revitalized with so many people being entrepreneurs, and I'm going to visit that, and I'm going to see that, and I welcome you to come with me. If you can't do it tomorrow, maybe you can do it on a weekend, and I'd be happy to do that with you, because we want to move this city forward. We want everybody to be included. Does that mean that problems are going to go away? No, problems won't go away. But that's why we have neighborhood groups like Karen Bell, that you go there and you talk about it, and we solve them a little at a time. That's what makes this city so great. So to say I don't know if I'm for it or against it, I think we're all for it. We just have to all get on the same page and try to make it happen. That's what I want to say. So put conditions and make people held accountable, and open up your ideas and let the abutters know what your plans are. It's not a secret. It's not a secret. You should share that with everybody. Doubt is a very frightening thing. And when there's concern and doubt and skepticism and uncertainty, that's a bad thing. And that's all I have to say, but I congratulate you for being vibrant business people, and I congratulate you for investing in our city as owners of condos. We're going to try to all work together and make this a better place to live and work and have a good business. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak in favor? Favor? Favor, hearing none. That portion of the public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chairman and Board. I appreciate the comments, other than Jim's accusations of my words are completely false. And I have my comments here. And I think what he heard was secondhand hyperbole. Oh, yes, sorry. Randy Matthew, 240 Jackson Street. I want to address the 6 criteria that the board needs to consider before granting the permit. And then I want to point out some irregularities with this request, and again, urge the board to deny it. So the first one is the social economic community needs. There's many locations in the community that are already providing massage in much more appropriate venues, such as the health club that Karen runs on Middlesex Street, the Meta Health Center, actually at 135 Jackson Street. There's a medical building on George Street. There's a spa on Merrimack Ave, or Merrimack Street. I think each of those locations provides the logical affiliation, spa, medical, health club. Also, they're in highly visible, highly trafficked locations with regular business hours and easy public access, unlike the proposed building. So we don't see a community need to open up more zoning for this service. Traffic flow and safety, I'm going to stretch this to foot traffic. It's mostly coming from Edward Early Garage, and the perception of a lack of safety in the neighborhood was actually brought up by Karen at the last city council meeting on February 4th with respect to people not feeling safe parking in the garage and walking to the health club on Middlesex Street, which is a much shorter walk in a busier area than the walk to Mill 5. Mill 5 is very often locked. It has unregulated hours, poor accessibility, and minimal foot traffic. The elevator access, as we know, is behind security doors for 240 Jackson Street, so would-be patrons have to call ahead. And the lack of access has brought activity to 240 Jackson Street, where unknown non-residents sneak in, to the lobby behind residents looking for access. So the safety of residents has already been compromised, as this activity can happen anytime, day or night. Adequacy of utilities and other public services. I think in addition to the inadequate accessibility, the building has never had this type of establishment And the Mass Board of Licensure would have to inspect it for things like lighting, ventilation, ability to keep floors and surfaces clean, restrooms and sinks for therapists. Typically, those are not issues in medical buildings, spas, and health clubs, but maybe they're more questionable in the old mill building, but that would have to be inspected. Neighborhood character and social structures. That's kind of the essence here. It is in the middle of revitalization, and the city and the residents, everybody here, wants nothing more than to see successful new businesses move in that can have a positive impact on the community and property values, of course. I think maybe you've been there, but on one side of Mill 5, we got 60 condominiums, an elementary school, and across the street are more residential and artist lofts. The other sides of Mill 5, a little less safe. There's a long-standing vacant lot at the end of Mill 5. And behind it on Middlesex, there's some small businesses below low-income housing and the Lowell Transitional Living Center. It's a mixed neighborhood. Its future, I think, is a little uncertain. The full effect of the Mill 5 development is kind of unknown at this point, but so far I've seen it bring some negative changes to the neighborhood character. This is the neighborhood character already. And those are the examples of late-night crowd activity coming in for Mill 5's hosted rock concerts, where they're charging admission without public amusement licenses. Also, monthly conventions and festivals take place, and that when that happens, it dominates the shared elevator lobby and compromises security for 240 Jackson Street. Impacts on natural environment, I don't see any issue with massage parlors on that. I think potential fiscal impact, including impact on city services, tax base, and employment. You know, it's a neighborhood with great potential, but I think the impact of this permit, can be hugely negative if the neighborhood becomes known for the wrong activities. And without public and zoning oversight, I see a potential for things to go the wrong way, back to where it had been years ago. So the irregularities I wanted to talk about. The address on the notice of public hearing is 300 Jackson Street, but the first location proposed is 250 Jackson Street. I think that reduced the assessor's list of abutters and left off the health center, the Meta Center, the health club, the community church. There was no 206 Jackson Street on it, which granted is owned by the petitioner, but the tenant is the elementary school, and the head was unaware of this whole action until I met with her after the first public hearing. The number two of irregularity is there was no public notice sign on the building until after the first public hearing. The sign went up on January 29th, which means it's been up for like 12 days now. Last meeting we heard the request was filed by the building owner so as not to burden the massage practitioner with the cost of starting up, and we heard a little bit of Karen's struggles with bringing in a practitioner, and I was unaware of that until talking with her. But I calculated the cost of an application to be on the order of $300, and I would think Mr. Suhu, he's already practicing at a high-end salon in Lexington, Mass. I would think he has the ability to cover that, or could work something out with Mr. Lachulis to apply for the permit in his name. Last meeting, we heard the request seeks flexibility, and it was suggested each establishment might have 1 or 2 massage therapists. And I say, well, what is it? 1, 2, 4, more? Massage rooms only need to be 65 square feet each. So if you divide 2 locations nicely, you could end up with 10 massage therapists. It's another example that I bring up of why I think a special permit should be for an individual massage establishment with a well-defined intent, rather than to a building owner with a vague idea. Last irregularity, and I'm going to conclude. I think there was a suggestion of using special considerations to allow the board to approve future tenants. I reject that because the whole point of the special permit is to give the public the right to know who wants to operate in the neighborhood. So why should the zoning board of appeals be making that decision for us, the neighborhood? I think it subverts the entire right-to-know process. And then, does the board plan on approving new tenants forever? A lot of the tenants in Mill 5 are 30-day, month-to-month type things. So in this way, I see this as a dangerous and poorly executed permit request. I think Mr. Bailey pointed out at the very beginning of the last meeting that special permits are typically requested by the massage establishments seeking the zoning relief rather than building owners. I think maintaining that structure allows for proper public and zoning board oversight of a neighborhood as it develops and as tenants of that turn over. So in conclusion, let's not forget that massage establishments are highly regulated and controlled for a reason, to protect neighborhoods. And I won't go into details, but last year, many establishments in the area were busted for illegal activity. Bedford, Billerica, Medford, Reading, Wilmington, Woburn. It happened actually 2 weeks ago in Natick. And the accused lawyer says his client denies the charges and the spa was for medical muscle treatment. This isn't made up stuff. I'll give you all the links and everything. And here's a nice quote I found from Captain Patrick Ambrose of the Danvers Police. He added that it's difficult for landlords, building owners, to screen the businesses because they appear legal. They open up under completely legitimate terms, and they present themselves to the landlord. They have cash to pay the rent. And as long as they don't cause any problems for the landlord doesn't know what they're doing. And I make no accusations against the proposed tenant of this at all, ever. I never have and never would. I suggest it would be best if he applied for this permit himself. The public would get to understand why he would want to work in this particular location rather than a more suitable place down the street. So I still urge the board to reject this permit because I think the community has a lot more venues already for this. And the character and the use of the building, I think, is unknown. And the permit doesn't provide the adequate protection to the neighborhood as it would eliminate future public and zoning oversight of any massage establishments that wanted to go into the location. And I thank you for your time. Unless you have any questions, I have 5 of this package if you would like.
Sure, if you want to present it to the board. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Yep. Okay. Hey, anyone else like to speak in opposition? Okay, we'll do, this gentleman will go first, ma'am, then you'll be next, okay? Yep. Yes, sir.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. I'd like to actually build upon and clarify some of the comments made by Mr. Matthew as well as by Councilor Mercier.
Excuse
Can you
me,
introduce
sir, can
yourself?
you introduce
My
yourself
name
to
is
the board?
Konstantin Valhuli of 259 South Main Street in Bradford. I work with Mr. Luchulis. 18 months ago, we began to undertake the project of converting 60,000 square feet of vacant mill space in Lowell. We undertook that with a particular challenge of these being the 4th and 5th floors of a mill in a town wherein the ground floor and 2nd floors were not being wholly used in what's called in real estate primary and secondary uses. Throughout most of downtown Lowell, we have what's called tertiary uses, which are businesses which could be otherwise located in the upper floors of buildings. We undertook something in the model of Chelsea Market in New York City or the market called Pike Place in Seattle. We wanted to be a marketplace for dining, shopping, entertainment, and technology startup companies. We undertook this with a challenge of this being on the 4th floor, with many doubters for that. And in the course of this time, we've been able to successfully develop, using smaller spaces, to bring a larger number of small independent businesses, many of whom have come out here today in support of the petition. Specifically, Jim and I had made a pact at the outset not to attempt to poach businesses from other buildings throughout Lowell. Rather, we wanted to provide a space for people to start businesses or to come in and open a second or third location from elsewhere. Part of that, part of our goal from the outset was to provide people with a single building to be able to spend the entire day in. If they're working there, they didn't need to get into the car afterwards to go for lunch, to go to yoga class, to go get a massage. They could literally go across the hall, down the hall, and come back. One of the contentious points we've heard tonight in the documents going back and forth in the past couple weeks, then the way this is being referred to as permits for the 4th and 5th floor, I'd like to clarify that. It's not. It's for 2 small spaces, one attached to the yoga center within that yoga center. The other one was for Mr. Suhu's space individually. The entire program for the 4th and 5th floors is going to be more of the existing types of small offices, mixing retail and purely commercial. Second, I would like to address a point raised by Mr. Randy Matthew. It appears his memory may be a little bit faulty. I'd like to read an email that had gone out from him. The senders, read this into the record. The sender's email was randy.matthew@gmail.com. In order to refresh your memory, I'm quoting your email directly. 1. The permit for multiple massage locations would not be assigned to the massage therapist, but to the building owner, Jim Lechulis. With this permit, he can then have any type of, gender of, form of massage therapist he wants in the establishment. This permit opens the door not only to happy end massage, but to things like human trafficking, which is real and has happened around here. You then include a link to follow up with that. You then go on to say, point 2, it is to be located in his dark and mostly locked down Mill 5 establishment. Is that your email? Yes. Is that your words? Yes.
This isn't a debate.
Okay.
Address the board, please.
Just I wanted to make sure that
Just keep
point.
to the subject.
Pardon?
Keep to the subject.
Yep. Again, the reason I want to address that point in particular, the mill is not yet fully open. It's still under construction. The individual shops have their own hours, and I think as any construction site, we want to ensure that it's not open to the public where they can be at risk. So respectfully request that we approve the permit with any conditions you may see fit to apply. Thank you.
Okay, back to opposition. Ma'am, you're next. That's okay, ma'am. I understand. I understand, ma'am. But
Hello, my name is Elena Vinskovskaya. I live at 240 Jackson Street, and I've lived there since 2005. And I'm here tonight on behalf of a very nice couple who just recently purchased a condominium in our association, and unfortunately they couldn't be here because of their busy schedule. So on behalf, I'm gonna read you this letter, and then I'll present it to you. So they sent it to Miss Hayes Hackett. We don't know who she is and if she has any relation to this board. But anyways, dear Miss Hayes Hackett, we wish to express our concern and request that the board deny consideration of special permit request ZBA 2014/001. We understand a meeting for the same is scheduled to occur on Monday, February 10th. The request before the board is to allow a massage therapy business to operate at 250 or 300 Jackson Street, within the property also known as Mill Number 5. As condominium owners in the adjacent property, 240 Jackson Street, we have significant concerns regarding such an establishment operating nearby. Among them, 1, there have been many cases of massage therapy operations in the past, becoming merely a front for illegal activities, including prostitution. 2, though mention of an apparently legitimate licensed practitioner is made by the petitioner as the first business person to operate, there is no guarantee this would continue to be the case. Vetting by the public of any additional massage therapist would be difficult, as the petitioner apparently wishes also to hold the special permit to operate. 3, proper notice was not provided to the neighborhood. We walk by the subject property every day, and only on January 29th did I see a sign announcing the permit request. 4, the Lowell Community Charter School operates on the first and second floors of the subject property. Should the types of activities described in item 1 even hint to become a concern, there are a large number of children in this area all day that may be exposed to it. 5, condominium owners have already been disturbed by events at mill number 5, including live bands playing well into the evening with loud noise penetrating residents' walls. I'm not aware of zoning of licensing allowing entertainment and or serving of alcoholic beverages here. It is in the best interest of our downtown neighborhood in the city of Lowell that mill number 5 be a commercial success. I wish for that, as do my neighbors. We understand they intend as to be a home to artists and retailers of an artistic and creative nature, and a welcome destination for residents and tourists alike. My spouse and I moved to Lowell and bought property in the neighborhood partly because of it and to be a part of the revival of the area. However, we feel we have been kept pretty much in the dark as to what the plans for mill number 5 actually are, the types of businesses that intend to operate there, and therefore the impact on residents in the neighborhood. There are more appropriate places to legitimate massage therapy operations to run, such as in buildings with similar medical and health-related offerings. For the reasons outlined above, we have serious concerns that would not and should not happen here. Thank you for your consideration. Cordially, and I'll give you the names of the people. And also, I'd like to add for myself personally, as a female, since these people moved into this building, I am very fearful to get into, I am afraid for my safety because these suspicious individuals, like 5, 6 of them, they've been following me into the hallway. I'm afraid to take the elevator. So I tried to sneak into one of those doors, main doors. We have 3 main doors that I can open with the key. And I look around. I'm afraid physically for my safety to be there. And I'm not the only one. It's just there are other ladies who have expressed this concern. Unfortunately, they're not here. People have different reasons why they're not here, but I just wanted to let you know about this. So I'll just sign my name here, and thank you for your time and attention. Yes, sir, I will give you this right now.
We already have it. Ma'am,
Yes?
did you want to speak? No? No, that's okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Yep. Anyone else like to speak in opposition? 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 Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Mr. Koulis, could I have you come up for a minute? I'm going to give you an opportunity to at least make any statements that for some of the stuff that was said. You don't have to. I'm going to have a list of questions for you anyway, so I just figure I'd give you an opportunity before I move to the board.
Yeah, I just think that there are a lot of people that care a lot about the neighborhood, and that's great. And wherever the issues are, we can overcome them. The noise issue was one thing that we've addressed. We can go into more detail about that, but frankly, I think the board understands what the situation is here, and if any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, but no need to reiterate
Okay.
things.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up to the board now. So thank you. Mike, anything?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I think as a new member of the board 2 weeks ago, I was one of the people that started the conversation about just continuing the petition until we got clarification on, because I have the application here, and it did state 4th or 5th floor, and there was a drawing of potential spaces that weren't numbered. It was not related to any commentary that was given, and you had mentioned during that hearing that any of those questions or accusations, most of them belonged with a different board. So I just wanted to clarify that. And so the updated proposal that we received now establishes a particular location on a particular floor, and in one case still includes the original medical massage therapist's certificates and information. So I'll wait to hear from other members of the board, but I just wanted to clarify. And the board and Development Services, I think, supported my questions and requests to just continue it to get some more information. So thank you.
Thank you. Van?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, through the applicant, after receiving the updated application, I saw that you got a lot of community support from a lot of people within the building and surrounding buildings, so I applaud you on that. I had a question about, so the massage therapy is going to be in 2 floors, so one is going to go in with an existing business already, with the yoga studio.
When we first applied for this permit, never in my wildest imagination would I think it would be controversial in any way. The way that we're building units here and the way that we're managing the property is a little bit different. That's more readily accessible and lowers the barrier of entry for startup companies. So we have a 30-day contract. It's not a year lease. It's not smaller spaces. It's a stepping stone. And with that same intent, we looked at the 4th and 5th floor and said, hey, we'd like to have people doing massage here. And so we said, well, the property this is going to continue over 2 floors, so we'd like to have the opportunity to do that among this space. Since it has become a concern, this is specifically what we're asking for. We're asking for these 2 units because these are the 2 places where we know that we have massage people that would like to work.
Okay.
So we wanted to simplify that. And if we have to come back for other things as they come up, so be it.
Okay. No, I was just curious. So, and I wanted to ask a question about. So, is Mr. Soho or the massage therapist, will they be having any loud music or any sort of nature, any of that? Because there's been a lot of talks about like noise complaint, but I don't know if it's not really particular to this application.
Derek is here. No, there will not be any loud music associated with that.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I just wanted to clarify for everyone. That being said, I know that that area of the city, downtown, Appleton, Jackson Street area, once was a hot spot for illegal activity, but to paint kind of a wide brush on every massage therapist business to say that they do illegal activity, I think it's not a right accusation. And by all the accounts here, this massage therapist is licensed and certified. He runs, he already runs. He has worked in the massage therapy somewhere else, and it's been going well and legitimate. So I don't see any issues, concerns with that. But, I think it's important that everyone participates no matter you're for or against a particular petition. But in this particular special permit here, I think you do meet the requirements for a special permit, and it is a positive impact to the city and to the economy as a whole. So I'm going to be supporting this petition. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Dennis?
Through Mr. Chairman, I want to echo what Mike had said earlier about the package that you presented tonight is above and beyond what I kind of expected when I had asked for some more clarification. Tremendous plans, clear identification of where the space is going. Almost 30, I think, letters I counted of support from businesses and residences, particularly from businesses, which I thought was key to understanding how this would fit in with the mix. There is a letter of roughly 15 names of residences that oppose it, though, as well. So it does have some issue there. I visited your facility over the weekend, and I was just blown away by it. I was absolutely amazed that Lowell has this gem. It's under construction, I understand that, but you can just see the potential there. It's absolutely tremendous, and I wish you a lot of success here. The studios, there's 2 studios on the 4th floor that we're talking about, and they're relatively small. They seem well designed. They seem to make a lot of sense as far as location in the building, so I really think that they are thought through, which I'm glad to see. I had a question, though. The facility itself, you said, is not quite done yet, and you're anticipating it to be maybe open more hours, and I'm just wondering what that schedule is, if I could.
Basically, we're waiting for another elevator to be finished. That way we can separate the lobby area. Right now, we have keyed access to a shared lobby area between Cotton House Lofts and Mill number 5. When we do have some sort of event, we have somebody down there making sure that no one goes in the wrong area. But really, we didn't think it was fair to residents, and many of which are my customers. I built many of these condominiums and have good relationships with most of them. I'm still the trustee of the board. That'll be resolved, but we're waiting for that to be the official opening, to be open for the public, and with the cafe.
And then how would you control the access to the facility? Would it be by key after hours, open doors certain days? How would that work?
Whenever there's a retail component that is open or just general office hours, the main lock will be on a timer. So people that work there that have 24/7 access have keyed or pass card access. And the public has access when a retail shop or establishment is open.
Has there been any security issues that you're aware of where people have been harmed or any reported events?
I don't know of any. I welcome I want to know about these things if things are happening. Overall, the neighborhood has come a long way, and it's just getting better. There's an air of excitement there, and smiles. People are happy by what they see, and that makes us happy. But no, there's been no issue that I'm aware of any violence or problems associated with Mill number 5.
And Joe, do we know if there's been anything that reported as far as issues with people being harmed, accessing the building, or any?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Once again, the elevator, what's your timetable for accessing the separate the new elevator?
We're keeping our fingers crossed for March 1st.
I understand elevators are tricky, and they're probably one of the other utilities. They're the second.
They're working harder on it every day. They have a shaft that moves up and down, but.
When would if you were to get approval, when would the massage therapy spaces be available for?
I would guess about March 1st.
So it would be about the same time. So
Yes.
maybe having some kind of condition that is resolved at the time of opening would make sense.
I personally don't feel like it's necessary, but you know, we'll cooperate.
It would, especially handicapped access is kind of important, I believe, and I just think that it'd be easier not to have to go through a common.
Right now, it's an intercom system. You dial up, just like it is for the residents. And
Right. Okay. Once again, I just am amazed at what you've done to that place, and thank you, Constantine, for your explanation as to how it works, because it really was something, it's a new concept. It definitely is a new concept, and it looks amazing, absolutely amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of questions and then some comments. We're in receipt of certifications for Unit 422, and those are submitted for the last package, and I appreciate the updated information and the detailed outline. We're always looking for defined information, and that's how we base decisions on. But as it relates to Unit 464, what we did ask and we were seeking were defined locations within the site, which there was not, and you've met that request from our previous meeting. But subsequently, we're still looking at not having any certifications for Unit 464. Is that going to be enveloped within that wellness center, within that business? Is that the change in scheme?
we have a manager to run the yoga studio, an owner manager. They're establishing their own business, and they will, that unit within that,
Right.
they will be managing that part of it. But no, we do not have the certified person that will be operating in that space yet.
Okay. So I would be looking for that to be a condition, that space there, if approved, would be operable once the certifications came to the board. And it's one of the conditions that I was looking for, because you did meet the criteria. You actually changed spaces and provided them in the same location. And I think that's a better location for it, adjacent to a wellness center with a yoga instructor and the like. I will say I have done my research both on the site as well as the massage therapy. I agree with my colleagues that the building is amazing. The vibrant running of life is there. It's something we have looked to for years. I'm a resident of Lowell my entire life. The Jackson plan this is the incubation of it. This is what we're looking to have in our community. You always hear, we want to be the next Boston, Cambridge, New York. Well, there you go. To have people within residential, commercial, and retail opening entrepreneur businesses, and to your credit, signing 30-day leases is remarkable, in my opinion, in this day and age of business, to have a 30-day lease, to have that positive mojo, if you will, to bring these things to the city. I think Mill 5, any mill that goes through refurb and is under construction is going to have some bumps in the road, and the elevator seems to be yours at this point. I'm quite confident that you will settle that as well. Cohabitation is always difficult. It's always difficult. Communication is the resolve. And I think you have that here. I think you presented that very well. I'm very happy to see you here tonight, making this meeting. I think the continuance actually helped you, and I think you were well prepared for that. I will say, having Karen Bell in here tonight, bringing her perspective, her understanding of the area. She's been a business operator in the city for several decades. She's, along with Mr. Garnick, they're 1 and 2 down there, and they've maintained their strong commitment to the city. They've maintained businesses, and to have that type of support bodes very well. She's a big proponent on the garage. She's done her rooftop parties. She's continually moving forward with the times, and that's what I think we need. And I think this project is something that will bode well down there. The massage therapy piece, I think, comes with a conundrum. I think it needs to be understood. I've spoken to chiropractors and physicians and EMTs, and skeletal treatment and muscular therapy is important. So I understand the need for that, and I think you did a very good job and a very good service tonight. I appreciate the package and your patience, and I do support the project.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gary. We got a few things to discuss. Joe, there was a comment about posting requirement. To your knowledge, was the posting requirement met?
Yes, to Development Services knowledge, the notice and the posting requirements that are required in the city were done in accordance with what's required.
And also, when this petition came out, were all the city departments notified?
Yes.
Okay, so all city departments were notified. We didn't receive any comments back from any departments, correct?
No.
Which would include the police department, so there was no knowledge going to the police of anything going on down in that area. Never mind massage parlors or not, so this board did not receive anything regarding safety in that area. There was also a comment about the school that's down there. Now, I know some petitions we've had come before us, you can't operate certain businesses within a school district. Nothing was met. We didn't have to entertain that at all, correct?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay. So just to put that at ease for people that brought that up. So we're entertaining two, I guess we'll call it two establishments, correct? So Mr. Soho is your first tenant, correct?
Yes.
Potential tenant.
Yes.
And you'll have another tenant. So, Joe, administratively, so don't take this personally, Mr. Soho. Mr. Soho goes in there and then he decides the business isn't for him, or how are we going to handle two licenses? Well, I should say two massage therapies. Administratively, how will that be handled?
Well, the board could take a number of different approaches. One could be that the licenses are specifically for those units. So in the event that one massage therapist leaves, another one wants to enter that same space, they could still do that. If the board wanted to restrict it to just a specific business, they could do that as well. So if that business does leave, even if the same type of business goes in there, they would come back they would have to come back in front of the board. So if the board would like, they could do that as well.
Well, I might, any board members have any comments on that?
I have one quick comment, Mr.
Sure.
Chairman, to Mr. Jenowitz. If this application is approved, can we still condition like a review period, like 3-6 months into the business, see how everything's going?
Sure, an administrative review could be an appropriate condition of the board if you wanted whatever timetable you felt was appropriate, if it was 6 months, a year.
Yeah.
It could be both even, if you.
Okay.
I already got that one.
Okay.
You have that one, yeah.
Uh,
Go ahead, Dennis. Sure.
Mr. Chairman, I do like the idea of the licenses for the special permit being tied to a particular license because it's a known entity. I would feel comfortable also if this person who operates here is licensed and there are no complaints for a period of time. Maybe it's not as large an issue, but I do like the idea of it being tied to the particular licenses. I think where this is a bit of a beginning here, it's not a proven kind of system that we have, even though it's phenomenal. I do like the idea of that extra caution, I think. Thank you.
Okay, so we know Mr. Soho is one establishment. We don't know who the second establishment is. So if we go on that criteria, Joe, when the second tenant decides to open up operation, how are we going to handle that?
If the board would like, you could condition that as soon as somebody goes into, I believe it's unit 464, as soon as somebody looks to seek an occupancy permit for that, they have to come in front of the board for a review and approval.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine with me. So we're going to focus on the individual businesses. Okay. Just so you understand that. Okay. Let's see.
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Yep, sure.
Just through you to Mr. Jenowitz, what other city departments or reviews are done for this type of establishment?
So,
please.
Sure. Each application that comes in goes to a number of different departments. Engineering department, our police department, fire department, water, wastewater. All of them receive a copy of the application, and occasionally our departments will actually meet to discuss different projects if it's a larger scale development. But the particular one we didn't, but each one does get the application when it comes in, and we encourage all of them to communicate any comments or concerns that they have to us approximately a week before a meeting, so we can relay that to the board and to the applicant so they're aware.
Thanks. And is the specific type of establishment inspected by the health department separately, under state law or some other?
I believe so. I believe the health department will be inspecting this particular use.
That's it? Okay. So what is the actual address that we're talking about?
The street address or the unit number?
Well, what's the actual address and then the 2 unit numbers?
Well, we were given new numbers recently.
Okay.
So the computer system has us as 300 Jackson Street. Our mailing address is 250 Jackson Street. Our full address for the building is 250, 270, 290, and 300 Jackson Street.
So that cleared that up. So Joe,
Mr. Chairman, a lot of times when you have a multi-tenant property, it has different numbers assigned. An example could be for a 2-family. It could be 123 and 125 Main Street. But when you have a particular lot or a parcel ID, it's usually lumped under one number. So in this case, while there may be 250, 270, 290, and 300, everything is lumped under 300 Jackson Street. So that's why on the notification it says 300 Jackson Street.
if the filing is made after the decision, is it going to say 250 to 300, or is it going to say 300?
On what? I'm sorry, I didn't.
Is it going to say, when the filing is performed, is it going to say 250, 2, or dash 300?
It'll probably say 300 Jackson Street.
Just 300 Jackson Street, okay. Do you have any security that's on site presently? Okay.
No.
Yep.
Haven't needed it.
Yep. So that, Mr. Soho's business, what's the hours of operation that you are planning on letting this gentleman operate under?
How long? Just daytime hours? What hours do you think would be open? Yeah, regular business hours, weekends. I would think, given the nature of people's work schedule, there would also be some 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock type appointments as well.
Okay, so as being the building owner, are you going to somewhat monitor the business hours that are, I understand the operation within the building, you got multiple companies, different flexible schedules, so I'm just trying to get an idea of what we're looking at.
We have not regulated that. We have not regulated open hours for retail or anything like that yet. We do plan on having some, closed circuit television type things as a safety measure.
Mm-hmm.
But we haven't run into any of those issues yet, so.
Okay, well, I'll get to that. I think I know how we'll get to that one. Okay. Well, I think at the end of the day, I was pretty much ready to vote on this after the first meeting, but some of the members wanted some more information. I'll echo what some of the other members also mentioned. I think you came back with a good package that explained in more detail what the operation would be. I do think it's very important that you did actually show up tonight. Not that you had to, but I think you were able to at least answer questions that I had and some of the members had, probably more directly. I really, it seems like I heard a lot of stuff, and I think you even said this about you didn't think you'd ever get into this type of predicament with massage And I frankly feel the same. There seems to be a lot of innuendos and accusations, but I have nothing to base this on. I think, in fact, I talked to Joe today. I don't think you correct me if I'm wrong, we haven't had a massage therapy, but I can appreciate Ms. Bell's comments because I was on the Board of Health at one time. And so I am a little bit somewhat surprised it comes before this board, but we have to entertain it. So I'm in support of the special permit, but I do have some conditions here I think we're going to talk about to, not to tighten this up, but I think we need to kind of monitor this. So if you can give me a minute or so, I want to review the conditions and then we'll come back to it. Okay, so before we have a motion, I want to thank everyone that participated tonight, both in favor of the petition and also those in opposition. I think, even though this was kind of a long, drawn-out discussion, I think hopefully in the end, I think Mrs. Mercier was correct that, this was a good debate, and I think, on both sides, so hopefully this is a success and a win-win for the city and for you as a building owner. So could I have a motion, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the matter before us is ZB 2013-45 for a special permit at 300 Jackson Street. I make a motion to approve with the following condition. Petitioner must submit certifications and licensure for Unit 422 and 464 in accordance with Massachusetts general laws prior to occupancy. There will be a 3-month review, and upon approval of the review, a 6-month review will be completed. Occupant permit must be completed, and the occupation permit will only be issued upon completion of the second elevator to the property. Each subsequent massage therapist who practices within Unit 422 and 464 must submit licensure and certification in accordance with Massachusetts general law.
So as far as the administrative review, just so it's clear, we're going to do a 3 months up front, and then we'll do one after 9 months. So it'll be 6 months after the fact. Okay, any other comments from the board members? Okay, could I have a second?
Second motion.
Have a roll call?
Mr. Bailey?
Approve with conditions.
Thank you.
Mr. Palia?
Approve with conditions.
Mr. McCarthy?
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Peck?
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Perrin?
Approve with conditions.
Okay, sir, you've been approved with conditions. Wish you best of luck.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, our next order of business is under new business. This is ZB 2014-2. Petition is a special permit for sign and non-conforming structures. The applicant is George Salas. The property is located at 430 Bridge Street. The petitioner seeks a special permit to modify an existing non-conforming structure and install a new internally illuminated wall sign pursuant to Section 6.3 and Article 12, Table of Uses of the zoning ordinance. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. My name is George Salas. I'm here to file an application for the 2 special permits.
So what would you like to tell us?
That I'd like to build an exterior cooler due to the fact that the location is very small. It's about 1,000 square feet. And if we could place that cooler outside, it'd make the operations a lot more efficient. And the illuminated sign is your typical illuminated racetrack sign that you see around the city or anywhere else.
Have you been a business owner before?
I am. We have a location on Drum Hill Road, Little Caesars. I don't know if you've been there, but if you have the opportunity, come on in and see what we do. It's very simple, just pizza and we run an efficient operation, very simple.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else you want to add before we
Just that I'm excited to be in Lowell and, you know, look forward to serving pizza to the community.
Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to open it up to the public, and then we'll address it with the board. Okay? Anyone here that likes to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? Favor? Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? 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 Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. I'd like to open up to the board. Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the petitioner. The Development Services has a couple of recommendations. I think the most important one is the angled parking into the site to try to manage people coming in and not trying to come in and out from the same entryway, because there's only room for 4 spaces there. Or there's 4 now, and the 5th will be taken up by the cooler.
Well, there's only 4, and the way it's set up, the cooler would abut the building such that it doesn't close off any of the parking. We can still get 4, just we can angle them such that when traffic comes in from Bridge Street, it enters the Bridge Street curb cut and then comes out on the 4th Street side. Okay. So it would flow kind of clockwise or counterclockwise out.
Okay. Thank you. And then, Mr. Chair, through you, Mr. Chairman, to Development Services, these outdoor coolers, do we have a number of these in Lowell? Would this be the only one outside of a small restaurant, or?
I'm not too sure. I haven't seen a whole lot. I admittedly am not sure, but it would get reviewed by the building department to ensure that it's safe.
Little Caesars has a outdoor cooler in Lawrence that's operating, if you'd like to take a look at it.
And so do these, either through you, Mr. Chairman, or directly to Joe, do these require some type of, something similar to the dumpster requirements, where it has to be fenced in or have some sort of extra security? Or
Yeah, it doesn't have the same screening requirement as a dumpster. If the board would like, it certainly could look for a visual screen to it. Whatever the board felt, if they felt as though a fence or if landscaping were more appropriate, that could be a condition.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to speak, but we have that in the plans. We have a screen with green slats that go through, but that's part of it.
Okay, I apologize, and I didn't notice that in the plan. Thank you.
Okay. Van.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the only comments that I had really is I want to thank the petitioner for opening shop in Lowell, and, I hope you do well. So,
thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you, Van. Dennis.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I was really struggling with the material that you gave us to ponder here. I was hoping for more material, frankly. I guess I always am, but maybe not always. But in this case, there's no elevation given of the cooler, so we don't know what it's actually going to look like physically. And that's a main thoroughfare in the city, so I understand you just mentioned that you have screening intended, but how high is the screening? Is it just going to be a metal fence with vertical slats in it? I don't mean to sound disappointed, but...
No. That's I'm not an expert on this, but if there are other options that you'd like me to consider, I'm happy to do it. But this is what I've been... The cooling company usually sends these out and says, this is the screening that we recommend.
Right, but these coolers typically don't happen on the front face of a building. They typically happen, at least in my experience, on a side or a rear piece where the kitchen typically isn't in the front area. The kitchen. So I guess this is really servicing the kitchen area. Is that right?
Well, the space is horizontal,
Yep.
so that the depth.
Yep.
It doesn't work for kitchen.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the layout's not the best layout. That's why we're doing this. And also in the back, there's no room to put it. It would block the alley.
You also have an entry to another tenant space behind the cooler. If you put your cooler where you're putting it, there's a glass facade to another tenant space.
There's a window.
And so that would be somewhat screened by your screening?
Well, we're going to block that window.
Not at the Little Caesars piece, behind it, that there's a group of shops there or entries to businesses there?
Well, it's sort of set up so that
Yep.
there's the Bridge Street, and then there's a angle, and then there's our location. It would set up in that sort of elbow section, and then the windows here would be, we're going to block them and cover them up and secure them, but the entrances to the storefronts are on the Bridge Street side.
The space that Little Caesars is taking is just on the Bridge Street side, though? It's not behind the parking space, is that correct?
It is, the parking spaces go into the storefront, like, that's where,
So Little Caesars will be taking that space as well?
that's the space that we're taking.
Oh,
If I may, Mr. Chairman, Mr. McCarthy, the space that Little Caesars is looking to occupy does span across the whole width of that section of the building, across the whole parking spaces. all the way. So that second door that you're referring to is actually the same space that Little Caesars would occupy in this case.
okay, because on the site plan, it indicates a shaded area that's not attached to the building in back. So that's where my
Yeah, I
confusion
think that's
was.
just
So
supposed,
that
I think-
actually is going to be, okay.
yeah, I think that's just supposed to indicate where the cooler would be located, but,
Okay.
yeah, I can see where a little bit of the confusion could come in.
Okay, that makes it clearer, thank you, because logistically, I'm just trying to figure that out. All right, and so the parking then for your store is here, and is there any handicapped accessible parking? Or is there any handicapped spaces there?
Currently, I don't think so. I'm not sure. I don't think so.
It's a shame. It just seems as though you'd want one space to be handicapped accessible, especially if we're going to go through the trouble of rearranging them to make one of them function as a handicapped accessible spot.
Happy to do that.
Good luck with that. You have a tiny site, but I think it'd be worth doing. Okay. So I guess two things. I'd like to understand the screen for the cooler a little bit better. I'm not sure what I'm going to ask you to do there, because I think a chain link fence with slats on Bridge Street is not really appropriate, because people do a lot to make their facades look nice, and that's a front door there.
Sure, yeah.
So, and then the handicap spaces, I think, would be nice. Okay, thank you. That's it.
So what exactly are you asking for the cooler?
I was going to listen to the...
Since you were so eloquent.
Well, in my estimation, the ideal scenario would be something that would be a dark greenish panel that would mimic the facade treatment that's on the building itself, whether that's done with a 8-foot-high vinyl fence or something that kind of has a relationship to the architecture that's on the building.
Okay.
So do you plan on making any exterior improvements to the current site?
No, sir, it's all self-contained inside the building, excluding the cooler. The cooler will be exterior cooler, opening into the building.
Right. But the outside of the building, you're not doing anything? Because you were talking about trying to tie it in, so.
I was just trying to tie it in with the facades that are already there,
Yep.
which are reasonable-looking facades. I think they've done very well aesthetically.
Right. Thank you. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I look at first glance, having a outside cooler in the front part of commercial property and a thoroughfare that's very busy and residential and the like, and I do hold the same concerns about what that screening will look like. I think chain link fence and lats are just, I think it's unsightly, and I think it'd be a detriment to the property itself, so I do think we should discuss the type of material and have that plan in front of us as a condition. I believe Mr. McCarthy is turning in that direction as well. So, as it relates to your entrance and egress to the locker, is that just gonna be from the exterior of the building? Or is it-
It'll be, once the
Once
cooler,
it's enclosed, you'll have that gap will be interior as well?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
to draw in and out of it, is all gonna be exterior from the outside? It's just gonna be self-enclosed, you're just gonna have one access door, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
But the access will be it will be in an interior access.
Right,
So no one will be able to get in from the outside.
right. Yeah, it'll be an interior access to the interior of the building, only, okay? So I will be looking for that to be a condition as well, because if it's an exterior egress, that opens issues and concerns about public access and coolers and the like, so are we looking to say that that entrance of the cooler will be interior, that enclosed vestibule, if you will, for no other better terms? As it relates to the sign, what are you looking for hours of operation?
Our typical hours are 10 to 10.
Okay. So you're gonna be looking to conform with the exterior lighting within that property?
Absolutely, and we can put a timer on.
Okay,
That's not a big deal.
yeah. So dusk to closing, would you be okay with dusk to closing as a condition?
What
For the
does
light?
that mean?
For the light, as a part of the condition, that the external light would only be on from dusk to closing?
Sure, when we close, we turn off the light?
Or an hour after
Sure.
closing is how we've always done it?
Maybe I can answer some questions for you. George will share the podium. Hi, my name's Dave Kilbride. I own that property at 430 to 454 Bridge Street. I've had it 25 years. Tried to manage it as best I could. It's done in historical colors. It's got all LED lighting on the exterior that is lit from dusk to dawn, round the clock. Keep the lighting on down there for security and walking reasons or whatever. I was skeptical myself on the cooler being on the outside. I took a ride to Lawrence on Lawrence on Route 28 and viewed what they did down there, and I was impressed at how professional it looked as far as being in a parking lot. It had the green slats and the chain link, mostly hidden. Where it's going to be situated in this building, it doesn't impede any windows except for his own, which he's got plenty of glass even after we install this. The business abutting that is Foxy Nails. He sort of wants to block up all the windows on that side, but I won't let him. Wherever we situate this, I think it's going to conform. This unit was previously, when I inherited the building 24 years ago, it was a Domino Pizza. It seemed to conform with all the businesses that were there. I still have H&R Block that is there. I inherited the Chinese restaurant when I bought the building. Domino's was there, and adding him to it would be a good mix, and it employs a lot of people. We generate tax money. We employ a lot of people between H&R Block, Cathay Walk. Foxy Nail employs about 12, 13 people, and I think he would be a good add to this complex. We thought about putting it in the back. It's a common way between the East End Club and ourselves. They get deliveries, we get deliveries. It was like we just couldn't do it, which I would have preferred the rear. But I don't think it's going to be an eyesore, and I think it's going to conform well with what we have down there. And if you have any more questions. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
No, thank you for coming up. You actually answered one other question I had, so we're always happy to see LED lighting on this board as we move forward with signage within the entire city, so through you, Mr. Chairman, I have no further questions.
Okay. So I'll start with Joe. There was, regarding the parking, there was recommendation from DPD to change the parking to angled. Would they be picking up, or would they be losing any parking with the angled, or would they still be maintaining the existing number of parking?
They should be able to maintain the same number of parking spaces that are there by angling them. It would help encourage cars and help make the turns easier backing up out of the spaces without having to come onto Bridge Street as you're backing up out of the space to do
Well,
that.
it all makes perfect sense to me, but I guess I'm going to ask you that maybe your property owner's sitting over there wondering what he's going to do, but what are your thoughts on the angle parking? Because
I think it actually works better than straight linear parking.
So if we do the angled with the intention to, I guess, people coming off Bridge Street, pulling in, and then exiting off, it was Third Street, is it? Yeah. Would you be putting up any type of signage? In other words, I don't think we'd want people coming from like Third Street trying to pull into the lot, you know, like a one-way or something like that. I don't know what's been done in the past, but I think the angle makes perfect sense, so we don't have people backing out, especially people that use the area onto Bridge.
So an entrance only, an exit only?
That would, that would be my suggestion as a condition. But you're the petitioner, so I'm putting it before you.
I agree with it. I will happily, in fact, it helps me. Anything that helps me get traffic in and out helps my business. So,
right.
In fact, that is a great suggestion, which I hadn't thought about.
Well, that's why I'm the chairman. I know everything. Now, these guys won't agree with it, but okay. So that's good. And we talked about the signage, traffic flow. Do you have delivery? Is it?
No, sir.
No deliveries.
It's strictly takeout. Our mission is to deliver a hot and ready pizza within 30 seconds, and our turnaround time is around 39 seconds.
Okay.
So a customer comes in, you can come down and see the location, Drum Hill. A customer comes in, orders a pepperoni or cheese, and if things are running right, they're out within 39 seconds.
Okay. There's a lot of things I could say, but I'm not saying it. Okay. So do you have, is it strictly, it's just strictly takeout? There is
Strictly takeout and it's strictly pizza. We don't have any fryer
nobody's
layers.
Nobody's coming in and sitting there and?
No, sir.
Okay.
No tables, no stools, nothing like that.
Now, the parking spots that we're talking about, is there going to be any signage that says the parking's only for Little Caesars?
The landlord and I talked about that, and it's not the case. It's.
What's that?
It's a customer only.
Okay, that's fine. Just.
It seems to blend together. My other restaurant in the property does mostly takeout.
Okay, all right. That was just another thought I had if you were going to put something up there. I kind of figured you weren't, but I wanted to ask the question. Okay. Well, I don't have anything else. Any other board members? I know we might have to take a couple of minutes again to talk about conditions. Do you have any questions for us before we?
Not really.
Yeah. Well, I think, again, I'll agree with a lot of the comments from the board that I am a little bit surprised the neighborhood association isn't down here, but that's okay. You know, obviously, having an empty storefront, I'm sure this gentleman would like to have somebody in there, and, you know, again, that area is very busy, so it sounds like a good business plan you have with the type of business you want to put in there for that particular area. It's good to hear from a petitioner that wants to work with the board on recommended changes, so that's good also. So we're talking about special permit for the sign. I think you have everything captioned on the sign that we talked about, correct? Yep. And then the non-conforming structure. So, Joe, was there anything else that? I don't think there was anything else that we need to address. Okay. All right. So if you give us just a minute, we'll go through the conditions. Joe, quick question on the angled parking. Do we, can we use, to work with your department on the plan?
Sure.
As opposed to resubmitting another set of plans, they can work with you in the angled parking? Well,
Yeah.
your department?
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, gonna go through the list of conditions. So as we're reading them off, if something doesn't sound right, give us a stop sign. Okay, so could I have a motion, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the matter before ZB 2014-2 for a special permit at 430 Bridge Street. I make a motion to approve with the following condition. The entrance to the walk-in unit must be within the enclosed building, accessible to store staff only, with no exterior door. Hours of sign operation will be consistent with the businesses within the complex. The walk-in unit will be screened with materials in line with the building and work with DPD for approval. The petitioner must submit a design plan for a designated handicap spot on site. The signage for one entrance only and one exit only sign be approved and reviewed by DPD, and to work with DPD for an approved plan for angled parking.
Everything sound okay? All right.
Sure.
Okay. Could I have-
Just,
Sure,
the
go ahead.
materials for the screen, I didn't quite understand that.
So we're gonna ask you to work with DPD on that. That
Okay.
way you can come to hopefully a good solution.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just as a follow-up to that, as Mr. McCarthy indicated, we're looking for the material that's in line with the same material that's in the building. We're not looking for the chain link with the slats. I think we both discussed that.
Not exactly the same, but flush panels or something that sort of looks architectural, yep.
What comes to mind is Trex material, something like that. Have you ever seen that?
Sure, yep. I think
I mean, it's the only thing I know of.
there's a lot of materials available, and I think DPD would be a great resource for you.
Okay.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second?
Have a roll call.
Mr. Bailey?
Approve with conditions.
Approved with conditions?
Mr. McCarthy?
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Peck?
Approve the conditions.
Mr. Perrin?
Approve with conditions.
Okay, sir, you've been approved with conditions. Wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good luck.
Okay, our next matter before us is ZB 2014-3. The petition's a special permit for signs. The applicant is Signature Signs, property located at 130 Bowden Street. Petition, the petitioner seeks a special permit to install an internally illuminated freestanding sign pursuant to Section 6.3 and Article 12, Table of Uses of the zoning ordinance. Is there a representative? Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members. My name is Jackie Tierney. I am the representative for Signature Signs. I'm here in regards to the freestanding illuminated sign for 130 Bowden Street, or Cabot Crossing. What our plan is that we want to remove the existing sign that's there now and install the freestanding sign. It conforms with the bylaw with the square footage. We applied for the special permit to have it internally illuminated. The street as of now is not very well lit, which is why we wanted to apply for the illuminated sign. It also alleviate any confusion with traffic as Bowden Street and Cabot Crossing is at the very end of that road, and it is quite a long road. I know there was an expressed concern about the faux wall that was part of the designs that were originally submitted. I have since spoken to the property owner, and I do have a representative of the property here. And considering that we would have to apply for a variance, we decided to take that full wall out. I do have revised plans with me that I can show you if
Sure.
you'd
Yep.
like me to bring
Yeah,
those
you can
forward.
approach. Yep.
And if you take a look, the last pages, the superimposed photos do have the full wall removed. The wall that is there now is existing. It is a retainer wall. We don't plan on modifying that at all. Oh, I might have discounted the pages. My apologies. Sorry. No. Not 5.
So, Joe, the petitioner made a comment about taking the whole wall down, and you mentioned something about,
Yeah, it was part of the owner's overall design.
Okay.
We had nothing to do with actually building the wall. We were just responsible for the sign only.
well, I was just, because I think you mentioned something about if they didn't take the full wall down, they're gonna have to get a variance or something, but,
Right, because it would have become part of the sign,
right,
because it's a design element to go with the sign, so it would have had to be included in the square footage calculation, and it would have
Okay.
brought it over 30
so
square
is
feet.
anything gonna replace the wall, or it's just?
Nope, it's just going to be the sign only.
I guess I kinda like the wall, so. Okay. Just like to start trouble. All right. Anything? Sorry, Joe, I didn't mean that. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I'm open for
It's
questions.
been kind of a long night, so I'm kind of to the point.
About
of-
that time, huh?
All right, I'm going to open it up to the public if you have nothing else to add. Anyone here like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? Favor? I knew I could get you up here soon enough.
Susan Brown, Stromquist Avenue. I guess I'm like Rita Mercia. I don't know if I'm for it or against it. As I understand, at the entrance, where they have the wall and the sign, that's going to be taken down, the wall?
Yeah.
It's just going to be a sign? Okay. 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 Being silly, okay, and the devil's advocate, what is the reason behind changing the sign? You can't see it from Gorham Street. You can barely see it from Stromquist Avenue. And anybody that's going down there would...
So, wait a minute. Okay.
Sorry.
So
I'm
just-
sorry, I'm
that's
supposed to
okay.
be directing it to you.
Yep, that's right.
I'm
That's
sorry.
right. So you can talk to me,
Okay.
I know you didn't want to talk to me earlier, but you can talk to me
Well-
now. And then we'll address
Okay.
it.
So, they're not taking the wall down, but I don't understand the new sign.
Okay.
Because the sign that's there is Cabot Crossing. I've lived there for 13 years. People that are coming down, you can't see it until you're right on top of it. So either they're going to increase the illumination, which I wouldn't be happy about, but those are my questions. So
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Sorry, I did not direct
No,
them to you.
no, you did all right. Thank you. Yes, sir. You can introduce yourself, please.
Excuse me. My name's James Bishop. I'm the business manager of the property. I work for Lincoln Property Company. And it's an excellent question. The property just went through new ownership and management this past June. And as a way to sort of revitalize the property itself, we're sort of rebranding it just a little bit and just bringing it up to speed a little bit. So that's kind of what triggered the new sign, and then also just to make it more effective.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anyone else like to speak either in favor or opposition? Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. I'd like to open up to the board. Mike?
Just a quick comment, Mr. Chairman. I took a ride down there, and I think the entrance to the property is far enough back from, is it Stromquist, I think? That even if there's a slight increase in illumination, I think it will just brighten up that entryway to the development. And also, it's an improvement over the sign that is there now. Not that there's anything really wrong with the sign, but it's got some wear, and so this will be an improvement. Thank you.
Thank you. Van?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. The only comments that I had is that I think this sign is a bit of an improvement on the current sign. So I support it, and they're using LED lighting. So I know it's always something that the board and the city is always wanting to see more of. So I support this petition.
Thank you. Dennis?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I just have a couple questions on the sign itself, if I could. By the way, the graphics here are a great, fresh approach here, and I think that it does bring about a nice branding opportunity, so I support that. The halo effect that was talked about, the LED, so these images are cut out, and you're actually only going to see the green of the tree and the letters.
What I did, sir, my name is Bob Crisafulli, and I'm the operations manager. I brought you a sign similar to what it would look like. Made sure, if you looked at, can I bring it up to you? Absolutely. If you look at Bank of America, this is how it would look. So it's not going to glow any more or less. But see, if you ever notice how Bank of America is, how it glows on the side, that's exactly what you'd see. This here, and then you'd see the halo lit.
Okay, thank you. Are we actually going to see any of the face panels illuminated? For instance, the green at night, when it's operational, the large green element on the side here, is that actually going to glow?
Yep.
So that will glow.
Only pushed out letters.
The letters only are lit. The actual green panel doesn't get lit. It would be just helpful to see the sign at night, that's all. So these are great graphics, but understanding how the sign performs at night, I think is just important, that's all.
Right, and I can explain this. The tree here, that's going to light, the face of that's going to light. The Cabot Crossing letters only.
Yep.
Apartment homes, it's going to halo out. And the white panel on the bottom that sets the phone number and the website. The 3 panels on the very bottom are aluminum, so they're just there to show property ownership. Those are not going to light. The fin on the side, that will light the total square box.
It's translucent green with the white knockout.
Okay. Okay, that makes more sense. All right. So it probably is a match for what you currently have lit now, where you have a externally lit sign where that whole surface is bright with that light
Right, it's
shining
got
on it.
floodlights, right.
You're going to have a very, maybe even a reduced amount of actually lit surface with just the letters,
Exactly, that's right.
the fin, and that white bar at the bottom.
Yes.
So it could even be a reduction. Okay. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. And then the hours that it's lit, is it 24, is it all night long that the lights are on?
I believe so. I don't know. I don't know that.
Currently, is the
I don't-
light,
We're going to be,
so the current lighting there is all night long? And your intention is to maintain that with this light being the same hours that currently are there? Okay. I understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, my comment, my question was actually answered through Mr. McCarthy. I appreciate the information on that Finn side petition. As far as the updated plans and being conform with LED, we're always looking for that value here. I do understand the change in ownership, change in your branding. That's what all marketing schemes are built around, so the explanation on the panels as it relates to ownership. Now, will those panels as it relates to ownership, it appears that one makes a reference to the Better Business Association. Will those be consistent, or will those panels ever change?
They would always stay the same.
Okay. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, I don't really have any other questions, except, I made my statement about the wall, but we're not talking about the wall. So we're going to, I noticed the resubmittal of the plans that you submitted this evening. They're dated both from November 26, 2013, so I guess that's what we'll accept into the record, but I'll just reflect that they were resubmitted on today's date that shows the removal of the wall, correct? Okay. Any other comments from board members for conditions? Okay. Anything about hours illumination or anything like that? No? Okay. Yep. Oh. Yeah. Okay. All right. So this will be the only condition then. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Could I have a motion, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, a matter before us, GB 2014-3, for a special permit at 130 Bowden Street. Make a motion to approve with the following condition. The board accepts the new plan submitted on 2/10/14 showing the removal of the wall.
Okay. I have a second.
Second motion.
A roll call.
Mr. Bailey?
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Palia?
Approve with conditions?
Mr. McCarthy?
Approve with condition.
Mr. Peck?
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Perrin?
Approve with condition.
Okay. Been approved with conditions. Wish the best of luck. Yep. Okay, next matter before us is ZB 2014-4, the petitions of variance, or variances for dimensional requirements. The applicant is Mohamo. Sorry to butcher your name here. Property is located at 173 Westford Street. The petitioner seeks a variance to construct a new single-family dwelling without meeting dimensional requirements pursuant to Section 6.3 and Article 12, Table of Uses of the zoning ordinance. So how do you pronounce your name, sir?
It's Mohamedou Jaite.
Okay, thank you, sir. So would you like to tell us about your petition?
Good evening, gentlemen. I just wanted it's a vacant lot. It's been vacant for a couple of years. There's houses nearby, and it looks like a deep hole because there's no house there. We bought the lot. What year was it? Yeah, when I was away for deployment, my mom actually purchased the house, and it's been there since 2011. The house that was there previously burnt down, so we were waiting for the right opportunity to rebuild there. So we got the specs, and they required us to update it. I know they said they want the house to fit the traditional build-up of the houses nearby, and I think we can make that happen, but that's all I have.
So we received this evening, Mr. Jenowitz just handed out a new, I'll call it a new plot plan here. And we also received in our package an overview from the Department of Planning and Development regarding the site. They also, did you get a copy of this that came from the city, the overview?
No, we did not.
Okay.
The comments that I had sent out is what he's referring to. Yes.
Is that the one that was titled
Okay.
comments? Yes, we did receive it. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. And you also, well, part of the package was a page that has Harkins Real Estate on there. Is this supposedly like a rendition of something similar that you were proposing to put in there for a home?
I can clarify that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
That was a comment in the memorandum that was provided was referencing that plan. It was just saying that whatever structure gets built on here, if one were to get approved for this site, the plans that come in should have the level of detail similar to this type
Okay,
of
so
plan.
this was more informational purposes for
Correct,
the
yeah.
petitioner. Okay. Well, I want to say, yeah, I thought so, but that's what I thought, so I had to ask. Okay. Do you understand what Mr. Jenowitz just said? The purpose of, we didn't receive anything from you as part of the package, so we had no idea what type of home you're looking to put in there, just as a starter, okay? So it's currently vacant. You purchased it. Your intention is to put a single-family home in there?
That's correct.
Okay. And you understand it's a undersized lot. Currently, it's an undersized lot.
Yes.
Yep. And there was a home there before. When did the home, do you have an idea when the home, when the structure burnt?
It's 2006, right? I believe it's 2009, but I'm not too sure.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else you want to tell us about what your plans are?
Just a quick rundown. We just wanted to build, it was a 2-story house with a garage underneath because I know Lowell has different parking requirements. So we decided to have the garage underneath the house to fit those requirements.
Okay. All right. If you have nothing else to add at this point, I'm going to open it up to the public. Okay, thank you, sir. Anyone here like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? Favor? Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? 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 Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. I'm going to open it up to the board. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This first question is directed more towards Joe. I think just wondering if this petition has to come back to us with some of these details that are being suggested through the DPD's comments before we move forward. And I mean, it's maybe just a procedural thing. And again, where I'm new to the board, just maybe for clarification on it.
It's more so what the comfort of the board is. If the board wanted additional information prior to making a decision on the item, you could continue it seek more information. If you were comfortable making a decision one way or the other and wanted to receive them on a conditional basis, you could do that as well. It's really whatever the comfort level is of the board on making a decision about the proposal. So,
I mean, I think I went by the lot last Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday. So obviously it's a spot that should or could be redeveloped, but I think we don't have the full. We have a lot of the suggestions from DPD about what to do without much of a plan. We do have the plot plan and the suggestion to move the facade closer to the street, a number of photos to show what the neighborhood looks like, the homes in the neighborhood, and I think, as the chairman suggested, that the drawings that were submitted were you assisting the applicant in getting an idea of what level of information you would need. So again, I'm not sure if I'm making a motion or if this would be conditions, but I guess just commenting and making a question at the same time. One thing I wanted to add too, when I went by the site, I would be concerned, just a little concerned for your own purposes. There's a building next to the vacant lot that the roof is covered in blue top, and there are boarded up windows and a for sale sign, and I would just be concerned if I was taking a chance on building a single family home there. There's a property right next door that I think is bank owned and in really poor condition. There's a fence collapsing, and it's not your property. I'm saying the one next door. I think you know which one I mean. So you might end up putting in a beautiful home there on what is now a vacant lot, and only to have that property next door. So again, I'm not sure. That's not really a motion or a condition, just a concern I have that you would put a lot of effort into this only to have it next door to a pretty bad piece of property. So that's all.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Van.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the only comments that I had was that currently this lot is vacant and a kind of an eyesore. So I applaud the petitioner for wanting to build a beautiful home there. And, I think any improvements to this neighborhood would be great to the neighborhood in general. So I'm willing to vote tonight and support this petition. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dennis.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I like what Van said too about the fact that it's an existing building was there and it's missing. And so to put back a house where one was before makes a lot of sense. It repairs the streetscape there, which is broken because there's a part of it that's missing. I don't have enough information for me to feel comfortable with this proposal, though. We don't have some of the documents required for the submission. One that I am worried about the most is the topography. The site dips down a lot from the street. So from Westford Street to the back, it probably tails off maybe 8 feet, 7 feet. It's a substantial amount. And you're proposing a driveway under. And so I'm trying to understand how that all works, whether you come down a hill from Westford Street and go under the house, or if you flatten the lot and you have a retaining wall around the back. So I have some missing pieces here to understand how you're proposing this. Because I think it's important for something to get built, but I think it's to be built right. And so in the requirements for the submission, one of them is a topography plan at 1 foot intervals that I don't see. The other one is the facade of the house. I mean, it's important for this to be built, but it should be within the character of the other houses. And so I think it's important to see what it's going to look like, or what your plan is to put there, so that we can embrace it and be part of the vision that you have for that site as well. So I think we need to see, at least for myself, a plan elevation of what it's going to look like on the street, and a topography plan to show how your driveway is going to be successful from a drainage standpoint, and just what kind of foundation walls are going to be exposed, if any, or... So I think I need more information here before I can feel comfortable with the significance of this variance. It's a significant variance, but I do like the idea of repairing the streetscape, so I just would like to see more information. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I do echo the sentiments of my colleagues. I feel as though what we look for as part of this board is a plan, a detailed plan. The requirements for a variance are specific. DPD is very willing and helpful to give you the information, seek what you were given an email as far as a guideline of what we're looking for, renditions. I have concerns about the elevation as well on that site. Bringing a home back to the neighborhood is always a good thing. And to be able to move on with your lives is something that is always a good thing. However, from a zoning board standpoint, I think we need a building plan. We need a landscape plan. I think there's your intentions are magnificent, and I understand where you're going with this. I think the email and the information that DPD has provided you will set you on course of some of the more specifics that we would be looking for outside of what you submitted tonight. And I think in fairness to yourself, to understand what you're undertaking, and in fairness to the board and the requirements of zoning, I think you'd be better served to take some time. I know it's your decision, of course, to follow through the packet and look at those recommendations and guidelines and provide that detailed information. We're not familiar with the number of bedrooms, the number of bathrooms, what the materials will be used for the exterior and the roofing and things of that nature. So just I'm putting the thought and the recommendation that you might want to use some of the guidelines and take a little step back and do some homework here. That's all. Thank you.
Well, I think you've heard from the board members what the intention here is. So it sounds like maybe you have two options to either, I would strongly consider that you may want to continue with this, but you're going to have to sit down with DPD and get a complete package of what needs to be submitted before we can fully entertain this. Or you can decide, Joe, if they didn't want to continue, they could decline to go further, and that would not mean anything as far as coming back before this board. They could not submit tonight or defer it. What's the options for the petitioner?
As you mentioned, they could continue to a later date, later meeting. If did want to go forward, the board could make a decision one way or the other, or I guess a third option could be if they wanted to withdraw without prejudice.
Yep.
And look to submit everything new. And that's a third option that would require re-notifying abutters again and
Yep.
the newspaper notification again. DPD's more than willing to sit down with the applicant and go over it.
Yep.
We have a pretty strong sense of what the board is looking for.
Right. And I'm not trying to make the decision for them, and I'm not sure if, they understand the three ramifications, but three options that they have. But let's say they wanted to continue and they sat with your department just to get some more information, but then they decided, could they still come back after a continuance and still withdraw without prejudice?
Sure.
Okay. So, sir, can you come up to the podium? Do you understand what we're discussing here, what we're trying to offer to you as the petitioner?
Yes, I do. Like, I think it's better if my mom actually comes up here and talks, because she's the one that's been doing a lot of planning, even though property's in my name.
Yeah.
So I really have no idea about any of this stuff. I'm new to all of this, you know. So from what I'm getting, this was just a blueprint, and you guys did an actual whole plan, correct?
Right. So what my, you know, I mean, if you want to come up, ma'am, and speak, that's up to you.
Hello, my name is Fatmata Jaite. I live in Drake.
Yep.
Well, our intention for this lot is to do a single family, but when I came, this is our first time to know what has to be built and how. So, but we go through this to exactly understand if we come to the board what they will request for us to do. But I know I have to have a plan from an architect which will design, because I would like to have a single family, whether a 3 to a 4 bedroom, but mostly it's a 3 bedroom, 1.5 bath.
Yep.
Just make it look like some of the neighborhoods. I used to have a house there just by Fanal Street. I think it's 3 blocks. Fanal Street, 15 Fanal Street. So we'll continue and get all the requirements that
Okay.
needed.
So what? Thanks. Quick draw, McGraw. So let's see, our next meeting date would be February 24th. Do you think it'd be, I'm going to defer to Joe on this. Would it be better to go to the meeting after that, March 10th? Do you think that would be
I would say
more
so.
sufficient?
I would say
Yeah,
March
I don't-
10th would be.
I don't think you're going to have sufficient amount of time for our next meeting in 2 weeks. So
Okay.
what
yeah.
we'll do is we'll continue at the March 10th.
Good, that's good.
And I would make sure you make every effort to contact Joe's office, and they can walk you through exactly what you need for a full application, so that next time you come in here, we have a good set of plans, so at least we can discuss.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, so could I have a motion, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the motion before us is ZB 2014-4 for a variance at 173 Westford Street. I make a motion to approve a continuance to our next meeting, March 10th, 2014.
Could I have a second?
Second the motion?
Could I have a roll call?
Mr. Bailey.
Continue to March 10th, 2014.
Mr. Palia.
Continue to March 10th, 2014.
Mr. McCarthy.
Continue.
Mr. Peck.
Continue to March 10th?
Mr. Perrin.
Continue to March 14th.
Okay, so we'll hopefully see you on March 10th with a good set of plans, all right? All right, have a good evening. You're welcome. Okay, next order of business is under other business. This petition is a special permit, non-discretionary. The applicant is AT&T, the property located at 131 Tanner Street. Petition, the petitioner seeks a special permit to co-locate antennas on an existing telecommunications tower pursuant to section 7.6 of the zoning ordinance. So Joe, if you and I discussed this during the day, if you want to
Sure, I
look
can,
this over.
I can quickly touch upon it. There was some recent federal legislation that was passed that has a provision that says that any co-location by a telecommunications provider that the language says doesn't I believe it says doesn't substantially increase. I forget the exact language off the top of my head, but basically what it comes down to is that anything that doesn't generate an increase in height of an existing telecommunications facility and it doesn't necessitate any structural changes to the facility can no longer be required to go through a discretionary permit process. right now, the City of Lowell zoning ordinance requires a co-location obtaining a special permit, which by definition is a discretionary permit. So in the interim, while the zoning ordinance gets revised to reflect the federal legislation, we're providing this on an informational basis to the board, saying that there's this petition. So while they've filed for a special permit, Development Services will administratively issue the special permit, and in the interim, also update the zoning ordinance to reflect this recent federal legislation that supersedes local zoning.
Okay, so are we taking an actual vote, or
So
no votes required, right?
Yeah, no
Because
votes
they
required, no
obvious-
public hearing.
They didn't even have to come before us, is basically what this
Correct.
federal law is, yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so since this is a public meeting, anybody here that wants to speak, either for or against this? Okay. So I guess we're closed on that item. Thank you, Joe. Last thing we'll entertain is the minutes for approval from November 25th, 2013. Any comments, changes? Hearing none, could I have a motion, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve our minutes for November 25th, 2013.
Do I have a second?
Second?
A roll call?
Mr. Bailey?
Approved.
Mr. Palia?
Approved.
Mr. McCarthy?
Approve?
Mr. Peck?
Approve.
Mr. Perrin?
Approve.
Okay, so before we adjourn, next meeting is February 24th, 2014. And I got a question for Joe. Joe, is, next meeting is February 24th. Is Melissa, has she indicated she'll be at the next meeting?
She has. She indicated 2 meetings ago that she would be here for that
Okay.
meeting. Yeah.
So at our next meeting, we'll be doing the voting for the board members, correct?
Yeah, for the annual elections.
Yeah, okay. So if there's nothing else for this board, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, make a motion to adjourn.
Second? So moved.